My word. Snuck it in.
My word.
That's not an onomatopoeia. That's what I imagine's happening. Just that one lady, that one southern lady in the East Blue, just all the way in the corner going, my word.
Whoa! It's not even in the name. East Blue. That's like East. We're not in the South Blue or the South Red. I don't know what other oceans there are.
That's fair. Maybe in the East, that's where they have the accent, right? The East is where they have the Eastern accent.
There you go. And then I guess that'd be a little bit like our Boston accent's back, didn't we? We did a Boston accent for some other reason, some random time.
Yeah,
Boston,
we did, probably. And the people are probably listening to this wondering why we're talking about a world that doesn't have the logic of our directions, of the cardinal directions of the U.S.
Yeah, I wonder what world could we possibly be in?
Yeah, we are in the world of Ichiro Oda's masterpiece, One Piece. Because why? Why, Jacob, across the interwebs, who are we?
We are the Grand Line Tourist, a chapter by chapter, examining for your very first time if you're like me, or re-examining if you're like my fellow compatriot Eric there across the internet, who is my tour guide.
The tour guide.
I am your tourist, and it's what a start to the episode today.
What we're going for. I was just thinking we are missing. We are in dire need of other tourists. Right, it's you, but then a lot of them have jumped off the ship, which is fair. That happens a lot. It's a long journey. You know what I mean? They didn't realize when they signed up for the tour how long this tour was.
No, I know, but you know what? Some people are stalwart. Some people are jumping on, sooner rather than later, and they're sticking with us. Because I've recently gotten a letter at port, my friend.
What? Oh my God! Let's pull it at the port. We're pulling it.
It is from a new listener. I'm going to go ahead and read out this wonderful, wonderful email from Jay. Hey, you guys. Writing in to say how much I love your podcast. Recently finished my binge, and I'm considering picking up the manga. This is interesting. Picking up the manga. We're like, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. He also goes on to say Jacob's middle name starts with a letter that shall not be named here. You'll have to go and do some history and research like this listener if you want to know. And I'm going to write something more meaty this week, but currently can't keep any focus on anything, so please accept my apologies. Hope to listen to your podcast for a long time. Get this. Greetings from Germany, Jay. So thank you, Jay, for writing in. He says, and this kind of explains what he was saying about considering picking up the manga. He's currently up to date on the anime, so he'd like to be considered a tour guide in training, which I think is it. Yeah, a lovely idea for that.
That's how I started too, man. That's how I started with the anime, which was a lot of fun. In the beginning of the anime is great. He what was the writer's name again? Our tour guide.
Jay from Germany.
Jay, you gotta if you listen to this, let me know how you get through this like 7-minute opening that they have now at the beginning of all of these One Piece episodes where they recap last week's episode in 7. Like, come on. So you gotta let me know how you're doing it. Let me know where your strength and your willpower comes from, Jay. Because you are now you say you're a tour guide in training, but I bet you're probably already a tour guide. We just need to get you some tourists, a tourist of your own.
Coming from my own tour guide, that is some serious stuff. So we just like to thank Jay for writing in, and if there's anyone else out there that wants to tell us how they feel about our podcast, like especially if you love it, like Jay mentions he did, that makes us feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. We really appreciate it. You can drop us a line, drop us some text at grandlinetourist@gmail.com.
Yeah, that email once again is title of podcast @gmail.com. Cool.
Yeah, but do the Mad Libs properly and you'll be okay. Otherwise, I don't know who you'll be emailing.
All right. Let's get on to it. I'm gonna pull out my itinerary real quick. Here we go.
Whoa.
I hope that was in there. That was some good Foley work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Today's itinerary will be covering Chapter 47, The Don's Offer, which is probably a reference to like a mafia Don, you think? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, they call him Don sometimes, right? It's in his name, right?
Yeah.
Don Krieg.
All right. Chapter 47, The Don's Offer. The Don needs a new boat. His boat's broken. He wants this one. He wants the Buratier. So he's like, yo, I want this, but also I have 100 dying, starving pirates on my broken ship over there. So we need enough food to feed 100 very mean pirates. The cooks are not down for that, but the one cook who is Sanji. Sanji gets up. Sanji starts strolling his little way heart towards the kitchen, and they're all like, "What are you going, Sanji?" Sanji's like, "You heard the man. 100 guys are starving. I'm gonna go make that meal." All the cooks, his comrades, pull their gun on him like, "We can't let you do that. You feed them, they're gonna go crazy. They're gonna take over our ship." And Sanji lets them know, "Hey, I'm a cook. I feed people when they're hungry. I don't judge. It gets complicated when I do." Awesome. It's a lot of what you and I talked about the last few chapters too, about the themes of this for this specific arc. Patty woke up in the beginning of this chapter, but now he gets back in. He knocks Sanji on his butt. He tells the other guys, "Cooks, hold him down." He says, "I know, Sanji, you feed the people I kick out. I don't care, but this one you're just dead wrong about. I'm gonna shoot him." So he goes and he brings out his gigantic pistol that shoots cannonballs. He has Meatball of Doom, which was my nickname in college, BT Dubs. Oh. Don't ask me why. Wink, wink. So he shoots it at Don Krieg, who doesn't, well, we think hits him. It knocks him out the door. It looks like a big hit, but surprise, surprise. How does he fight, Jacob? What does Don Krieg have on him?
Underneath that lavish exterior of fur, he has the shiniest of armor.
Yes, he is just built in with armor, with makeshift little mini pistols that shoot guns, shoots bullets.
I think I counted. There was 14. 10 barrels just in the armor, and then he was holding 2 guns that each had 2 barrels for a total of 14 barrels of firing power.
That's a lot. This man is a lot. He shoots up the charging cooks who are like, "Oh no, we can't mess with him. This guy is crazy." Don Krieg reminds everybody in the boat, "Listen, when I say something happens, it needs to happen. It's not an order. It's not a suggestion. It is a ruling," essentially, is what he's saying. But right when he finishes that statement, Chef Zeph shows up, drops off a whole big bag, and he says, "There's enough food in there for 100 people. Get out."
Whoa.
Right? And then at that point, everybody's calling him Zeph. They're like, Zeph, what are you doing?" Don Krieg goes, "Zeph? Red shoe Zeph? Whoa." Ta-da! Right? And then the cooks are like, "Zeph, what are you doing? If you feed them, they're going to come back." And Zeph looks at Don Krieg and he says, like they have the spine for it. Because they went to the Grand Line and they tucked their tails beneath their legs and they came right back out. So that's right. On.
It's on. Yeah, no. We're gonna. It's crazy. Feed those who are gonna fight you. It does seem like quite an odd move.
Being the tour guide is so funny because I forgot this happened. It feels like our conversation that we had last chapter would have been better, fit very well here, simply because it's like doubling down on the question from the last chapter, which was, we were just so silly asking about whether he should feed Krieg. Now Krieg is like, feed my army. Right? And
I know,
Sanji
and
still says
it just makes it takes exactly what happened before and just elevates it again, right? It's saying, if you didn't catch this, yeah. But I did have one question for you, yes. And it was, why was your nickname Meatball of Doom in college?
I can't say that for maritime law.
It's kind of like the whatever happens to be my middle letter of my name. Yeah. It's kind of that which must not be said.
Listen, the first rule of Doom Meatball is that you can't talk about Doom Meatball. But Patty broke that rule in this chapter, which I let him get away with, and then I broke the rule again, maybe twice already because I keep bringing up that is my nickname. Anyways, going into
don't break it up
the
that
actual
time.
Thing. My first point of discussion, which we already talked about, is the Golden Dawn Krieg, the heavily armed and armored coward. And I'm throwing coward at the end of it there, yeah, because that's what Zeph called him, a coward. What'd you think of
that? It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, what do you think of this design, this character design, this reveal of him? I guess
I actually think I kind of I liked him with the fur on. I just think he had a cool look. But it makes sense that it was being useful to him as this crazy pirate captain, right? There's somebody that just in his nature calls out insolence and things like that, right?
Oh, that's right.
It makes sense that person is going to have, underneath their, fur, all these weapons and all this armor so that they can And you know what? I actually saw, it got me thinking, and this is because of my training from you as a tour guide.
Oh.
I got me thinking of, it's almost not like I'm gonna loosely say the crew culture of Krieg is I'm stronger than anyone, and that is how he's stronger than anyone. He's stronger than anyone because he's got the best stuff, right? And maybe that's why he thinks he can just go to the Grand Line, right, and make because he's got the most pirate ships or whatever. He's trying to. He thinks that show of force and having the best is enough.
I like that you're already on this, so let's keep diving into this. I think so. For me, I think it's. I was trying to really dissect this chapter in a way of like, does Don Krieg represent, like you just mentioned, his crew culture? And actually, the word that I came up with, because everything's about food, is he's gluttonous. Like he's gluttonous. He's kind of taking everything. Almost everything. Yeah, he'll take everything. He'll overeat. He overstacks. He overstacks on people because he thinks that's the answer, right? I also think for him to hide the gold, I think he's hiding his gold armor. I don't think he's. I think it's on purpose. Just like how they talk about he's like a trick. He depends on trickery. Like he'll wave a white flag and then like shoot them down. Right? And stuff like that. I think he hides it. It's his thing where he's like, I'm not going to show my hand first. I'm going to bait you into doing yours and then I'll... Right.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I kind of forgot that is... Because we haven't experienced that firsthand. We've only heard it talked about. And now I guess we have experienced it firsthand.
Yeah, because now he's doing it.
This is the example of it.
Yeah, this is an example of it. Because he also, like, he gets up and they're like, oh, he has to be down. So they all charged him. And surprise, surprise, just like a white flag... He, just like the thing he does with the white flag, he reveals all these guns and all these things. Man. He becomes, the East Blue Iron Man. But I do.
It does look very Iron Man.
Very Iron Man-esque. Yeah, very like War Machine-esque with all these different, right? But he just, like I keep thinking gluttonous. Like he just keeps taking and overeating and like quantity is kind of like the way that he thinks is his way to be powerful, to show things off, right? Which also makes him a coward in many ways, in the way that he fights and what he does, But yeah, that's kind of like what I was thinking about, and then I think it's fun to kind of put the word gluttonous in while we're talking about food so much here.
Oh yeah, no, it really fits with anything that's happening on the Baratier that we can relate to food is just worth doing. And I mean, just to go over it again, we hit it a bunch last time, but like, how cool is Sanji that he can just say to these chefs that have all pulled guns at him, like, I'm just gonna feed the people. My job is to feed people, not judge them. Like, it's just such a. I think it's so cool. It's the attraction to somebody who has some sort of moral standing or philosophy, and they just stick to it, right?
Yep.
They stick to their guns the way Krieg does.
Yeah. You gotta, you guys know you gotta stop me. You gotta shoot me. And I think my favorite line here, which is but it's my job to feed people, not judge them. It gets too complicated, right? Because in his eyes, like you and I were talking about the last few chapters, is that eating is a given right. Right? It is a given right. And then I was thinking about, even after I was thinking about dissecting that, I went and I looked up what your body does when it starts starving. Right? Mm-hmm. And essentially what happens is that your body starts eating itself. It'll slowly start eating at your muscles and all this stuff because it doesn't have enough to kind of sustain itself. And to Sanji, the idea of somebody starving is like, it's not okay. It's worse. It's worse than getting robbed, right?
No, it's one of those things that it's cool that he can say regardless of context, right?
Yes.
Because, I think this is also... I think a lot of people go through this in their day-to-day lives of like, oh, I didn't help somebody because, well, I don't really know them. And it's like, well, that's the, there you go. There's your problem, right? Didn't know them. You're thinking about who they are, the context. You're deciding some people are worthy of help. You're judging. Mm-hmm. Sanji doesn't do that. Sanji
not when it comes to starvation.
His job is to feed people.
Yeah.
Not when it comes to starvation. And it was interesting because we actually see the counter to that is... person with gigantic forearms.
Patty.
Patty.
Well, Patty's just the other side of the argument too, right? And in this
Patty.
case,
It was cool to see it come in physically, right?
Yeah.
Patty's like, boom, you know, like,
yeah.
I don't know whether everybody you feed outside is all right, but this one's not, right? Like,
Yes.
Patty's kind of the voice of reason against it, of like, well, I don't want all of us to die, you know, like this is Don Krieg we're talking about, right?
Right.
And
he's
Sanji's not willing to make that
army.
distinction. Yeah, he's asking us to feed his army. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see that philosophy, that battle of philosophy.
It's great because it is, again, this is another example of, I have to remind myself that this is for kids, but like the shade of gray that's being tossed in this argument here, right? Is food a given right? Right? Is feeding somebody, like, is eating just a thing that everybody deserves to have, no questions asked, right? Well, to Patty, like, he's not wrong here. We know what the result's gonna be. If I feed them, then we have to fight, right? And then it can lead to people dying, and it can lead to us losing this boat, and I can't. Right now, we have the strategic advantage of them starving, right?
Yeah.
All of us here, we have a chance of beating him. If we feed his army, there's no way of doing it. And I think all of this is very cool, because what a cool little footnote for the end of this chapter, that we find out where Zeph stands on this argument.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's probably not where we would have guessed. At least it wasn't where I would have guessed.
Oh, that's cool. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, wait, would you... I asked my tour guide if you would have guessed. You knew, but...
You're right.
Yeah. No, I mean, this maybe is playing a little bit into that connection between Sanji and Jeff being tighter in some sort of way that I maybe was correct about predicting. Yeah. But we'll see. But I didn't know it would have been this, you know? It seems like there is something between Sanji and Zeph having this... Because they're the same here, right? Most of everybody else is not on board with this, but they both happen to be. And that is, you know, that's really cool to see.
Yeah,
that,
what a clear way if you're writing a story. If you want your audience to understand the two people are alike, make them do this. It's those two versus the other people's opinion, right? Every cook in this boat right now is saying, don't feed them. And the two people who are doing the opposite of that probably think alike. They're probably very similar in thought, right?
Yeah. I know. I gotta throw out my my prediction corner, my tinfoil hat, my tinfoil time.
Yeah.
The big bag that Zeph puts down maybe isn't full of meals, or it's not full of good meals. I think there's something. I think Sanji would have literally just fed them. I think Zeph is gonna do both. It's gonna save all the lives of everybody on the ship, but it's gonna, like, I don't know, give them, you know, it's gonna bloat them so much. He's gonna, like, make a meal that also incapacitates them but saves their lives or something. That's my current theory. I just don't think Zeph is plopping this big bag down without there being something to it.
I love that.
Especially because we can't see what's in the bag, you know? Like, and you know, as far as I'm aware, I guess I don't know what who's gonna carry it back and bring it to the other ship, but yeah, we have this big bag down, and Zeph said it's full of, you know, food for the crew, and I bet it is. I don't think he's a liar, but food for the crew. I want to see what that means.
I also gotta say, are you getting a little excited about the idea that we're talking so much about the Grand Line and what the Grand Line is kind of opening up to be?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, it is the name of our podcast, and we need to see it through.
At the very least, the moment we get to the Grand Line, we're done. End of podcast.
Yeah, you know,
we're handing it off to Jay to finish off.
Yeah, I mean, at least we'll have succeeded on the outgoing, obvious mission of our podcast. You know, like, we'll have dipped the toe in the Grand Line. We need to do it. Like, so,
got to go back now. Yeah, I just think it's so interesting that we're definitely not there yet, and we're still only in the East Blue, but we're getting so much hype about the Grand Line, about the power level of it and everything too. But I love that in this chapter we get Zeph to say, you went to the Grand Line, you ran scared, eh? Like, too bad. You're not as great as you think you are, my man.
I had a little bit of a I wanted to turn this idea of, if a man is hungry, I feed him. That's like Sanji's principle, right?
Yeah.
I was curious, do you feel like you have any principles that you live up to unreasonably, that, like, regardless of context, you are going to stand by that? You know, there's, like, in a certain situation, you're like, this I always do.
Yeah.
And I turned that question to the tour guide here. And if you need a moment, I did have one that I came up with for myself.
Yeah, you go first, because this is a deep question.
It is a deep and it is a tough question, but I think
it's like a life pillar, right? Like a life pillar.
Yeah, I think I have a life pillar. It's hard to sum it up as pithily, like in a nice phrase, as if a man is hungry, I feed him. But I think I have this idea of endless positivity coming towards this feeling of never give up. If you're going to lose, you don't give up. You play it out. You see it to the end, and if you do it with the right attitude, that possibility, that feeling of hope, a lot of things can come out your way, and so that's in a lot of context where someone would say, throw in the towel on this one. I turn around to that person, whip them with the towel, and say, never give up.
All right, that's a good one. That's a solid one. I think for me, I'm trying to think of it right now, but I think of everything in my life. I think I am very much about, like, doing your part. Like, doing your part in a community, in your job, in your family. I think that's something really... I don't like to let people down, and I think that's my pillar.
Yeah.
Like, if I tell somebody that I'm going to do this thing for them, I'm trying my best to kind of pay that off and work hard for that thing, not mostly for myself, but mostly for the other person. So I think that is a pillar. Like, if you give your word to somebody that they can depend on you, then I think you work your hardest to make sure that they are, like, that they can be dependent on you. I think a man's word, and I think a person's word, and dependability is a lot more than their, like, wealth or their other aspects of their character, I guess.
No, I like it. Yeah, we could have, Don can show up with all his weapons, or, the lowliest sous chef, the lowliest cook on the line shows up. If they're both there at the same time, they're the same in Eric's eyes. He's like, these two people, they showed up.
They showed up. They showed up.
No, well said.
There you go. What a question.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. It is, and I think sometimes it changes over time for different people, right? But yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if we can, like, put this idea... We'll definitely have to bring this up, like this character pillar, right? This is a character philosophy, a character pillar of these characters, and we should start applying it to our other current Luffy pirates, too. Like, what's Luffy's pillar? What's Usopp's pillar? What's... Right? And it'd be fun to kind of see.
Yeah, and it's kind of difficult for certain ones. Like, for Luffy, it's not so obvious what the pillar is. It's kind of like, you feel like there should be something you can put it into in, like, regardless of context, X. But, like, what X is actually, like, this weird bundle of a lot of things, right? Actually, I think it's probably closer to yours than to mine. I think Luffy... Or actually, probably both is actually...
Yeah, I think it's kind of both, because I was going to say...
Luffy's definitely going to have never give up, for sure, and he's also going to have dependability's key for Luffy.
Yeah, and I think for Luffy, it's very much of, like, his big pillar is, like, you say you are this thing. You say you are this truth. You need to be doing your truth.
Not only do you need to be dependable, but if you say that you can stretch, you better be able to stretch.
Well, even probably deeper than that, right? Like, I think that's why he likes Zolo so much, because he's saying, like, Zolo's like, I'm going to be the best swordsman in the world. And he's like, well, I'm going to be the king of pirates. So the swordsman that I have is the best. And I believe you. And that's which is awesome. And perfect.
One last little thing I had. Yeah. I often try to bring up a translation that I find is interesting. And so this time I focused in on, you've eaten, here's your dessert, the meatball of doom, which is a pretty cool line from this chapter. And I wanted to go and find another translation, which I think in this case is worse, but it's kind of fun to share.
Okay.
Try this iron dessert for your after meal snack. Indigestion meatball.
Oh, that's what they named it?
Yeah, that's what another translation takes it and puts it forth as. And I can only assume that in that translation, it's trying to be a little more literal, just because it does sound a little weird.
It does.
And so this is the one where I do like the whoever was translating for Viz in this chapter, the approach of, let's give this thing just, the meatball of doom. It feels like something you yell out. Yeah, a little more kiddie.
And he's a chef. I get it.
Yeah. No. So, that said, I feel like I'm ready for a little bit of chuckling if you don't have anything else to go over.
So I only have one chuckle.
Oh, one chuckle. I think I wrote down two. One of them was, I'll lead in with the first one that I've already said. it was that you've eaten. Here's your dessert, the meatball of doom.
Okay.
Also, it's a meatball. I mean, like, what kind of weapon is a meatball? It's just ridiculous. Right?
I think isn't that just a reference to the cannonball though? I don't think it's an actual meatball.
I thought it was an actual meatball.
Oh my goodness, we need our deep diving tour guides to figure our or even One Piece scholars to let us know. But I think it's just a cannonball, and balls, meatballs, they're both ball shaped.
No, that makes a lot more sense to be used as a weapon, but because it was a chef that was taking it out, and I guess I was trusting Patty to be true to their word when they said meatball of doom. If you look at I'm looking at the thing in the panel though. I mean, it's kind of shiny, like a cannonball.
Like a cannonball.
It's very spherical. I don't see any ridges on it that like implies meat texture.
Yeah, and also for One Piece, when they do weird pun stuff like that, like a meatball of doom, and they really want to be a meatball, they would have spent like at least a panel or two on Patty making his meatball and being like, "Get my meatball of doom," or whatever. Right? Like it would have been some sort of weird reference before.
I need some other tourists out there to write in, and I want them to say, "No, Jacob, it is a meatball. You can clearly tell it's a meatball." But I think I'm on the losing side of this one. I am already turning against myself. Either way, I found it funny to imagine that it was a meatball.
Yeah, it would have been a completely different joke if it was a meatball. My only joke is that we get such a fun little payoff at the chapter.
Actually, indigestion meatball maybe is a better translation then, because then I would have realized, you can't eat a gigantic cannonball. It's impossible to eat. It's indigestible.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm taking it back. Maybe I like the other translation a little better now, because the new
it's
the
your
one
fault
that
you
we
took
read,
a pun literally.
Yeah, that is a real problem, especially if we're reading One Piece.
All right, I was gonna just mention that I thought this was a really cute cover art because it's paying off the Buggy versus Gaiman fight. In such a kind of cute way. Buggy's crew after the battle. Part 9. You're a strange creature too.
Aww, how sweet.
And they're just there drinking out of fruit. Look at that fox being nice and lubricated and balancing his jug on his nose. Oh my goodness, they're just having fun.
Indeed. No, I think I don't think there's too many more ha-has in this chapter, And I mean, there always are, but like, his body, it's all shiny, but like nothing. I don't know. I like when people point out shiny things and get excited about them.
I mean, he does kind of give himself an infinity gauntlet, which is just kind of funny. Or he calls it diamond fist to demolish anything. It's a lot. He's very extra, Don Krieg. He's very much like a. You just know. Have you heard that thing when people are just too showy that it's like they're overcompensating for stuff?
Oh yeah,
right. And like
steel armor, fist of diamond. 50 ships, 5,000 fighting men, 14 weapons.
And the size of his boat, like all of that, and you're back. Like it was bad. You aren't what you think you are.
Woo.
Yeah. I guess that only leaves us one last thing, right?
It leaves us the most important last thing. Uppercuts, jib jabs, punches, kicks, meatballs of doom, indigestible meatballs. We are clearly heading into the panel battle.
Panel battle.
What he said. This is the section of the podcast where Eric and I have chosen our favorite panel. For whatever reason, it spoke to us that day. We spoke to it. We lovingly said sweet words to the panel. We spoke the words of the panel out loud.
And then we put it into a cage and told it to fight the other panel.
Yeah, that's right. And then we sent it off into the world to do the form of, battle.
Right. It's much like that movie, The Fighter, with Christian Bale, Amy Adams, and Mark Wahlberg. I don't know who the other guy is.
No, it's an old guy, right? Like Mickey Rourke? I don't know what I'm saying.
Anyways,
I said a word.
It's much like that movie, but with less Amy Adams, and I don't know. Both good performances, though. But that's what this section is, our panel battle. And, it's not just a one-on-one, a V1v1 panel battle. It could be a 1v1, V1, V2, V-dog, as long as you teach your dog how to choose a panel. But essentially what I'm saying is that it's open to you, to our future tour guides in training, to our tourist incumbents out there, for you to join in. And the way you do that is by sending an email to nameofpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that email is nameofpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, no, and feel free to send them in before the chapter comes out. Even if you're ahead of us, if we'll take it into account and we'll call you out and we'll get you
at
in
the
the
pace
fray.
we're going. We can maybe even do a fun thing when you send your favorite panel from like chapter 300, and then
and
you
then
need to
gives us
figure
something
out.
to work
You have
to.
to try to remember what you sent in.
Yeah, it'll be like, oh, what did I pick that week? What did I pick that time?
No way.
Alrighty, I don't know who's gonna fire the first shot, and it's gonna be me. I've decided. Let me go ahead and.
Do it. Copy, paste, send.
You got it. You timed those really well. That was like exactly as I did it. I had to put down my recording device for just a moment to send over my panel, but
this is
now.
a action shot. A 1/3 panel, pretty big, long, rectangular panel of Patty pulling out his. I called it a meatball of doom shooter. The gun that he's holding, and we had a klachank as the onomatopoeia, and we have Patty say, "You've eaten. Here's your dessert, scumbag." Yes. I added the scumbag.
What do you think of the design of this weapon? That I realize now doesn't shoot actual meatballs.
I like it. I wish it. The only thing I wish is that we knew Patty more, just so I know what type of character he is to pay off the design of this gun.
Yeah, it has eyes on it. Those are clearly eyes, right?
Yeah, it kind of has eyes. It might be. Is this some sort of animal? Am I being weird about that?
We know that Aikiro Oda really likes to draw animals, like whenever he gets a chance. So this may well be some animal extruded and stretched so that we can.
He probably
but I don't
only
know.
has
I
one
think
shot
it's
in there. Don't you think? It could probably only shoot once.
Yeah, I think you have to reload it. You have to go get another cannonball. So, really, to be honest, it's quite weird. This is really just a cannon that you carry, right?
Yes, yeah, it's a hand cannon.
Which is
sure.
funny to think
arm
about.
cannon.
Which actually kind of helps add some oomph to Patty, right? Patty can just lift a cannon and fire it.
Well,
right?
Patty's supposed to be pretty strong. I think this is another. It's really funny to see because Patty knocked out Sanji. He's like, "Don't shoot the idiot, just hold him down." Right? I think Patty's supposed to be actually pretty freaking strong, and it's nice to see Patty land a hit on Sanji because Sanji's been abusing him most of these chapters anyway. So.
Yeah. No, and actually, now that I'm looking at my panel again, what's the flares behind Patty, like along his back? Is that that's the back end of the weapon?
I think it's a shrimp.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
And
now
that's like the really long.
Sense.
It's like the really long tailed things, but in the back, you know how shrimps has the little the tail of the shrimp has the little the scales, or the type of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a shrimp.
Wow. I think you're right. This
makes sense.
Such a weird weapon.
I didn't even piece that together until you said it, and I'm like, that looks like the design of like a shrimp. Like it has to be a shrimp.
Yeah, and now the little frond eye things. Yeah. It all is kind of clicking together.
It's great.
Wow.
That's great. I love your panel now.
Well,
that's awesome. We paid off this
well done
weapon.
me. Well done me.
Well done you. How do I send
We'll see how well you did as you do some copying, followed by some
pasting, and
typing,
entering,
followed by. Oh my goodness, Eric! We were so close to picking the same panel.
Yeah,
wow.
You don't want this Tarantino-esque panel.
Oh, I almost did this one. This is our boy Sanji. He just is going and putting his life on the line because he's trying to get to the kitchen to cook some food for 100 people, and every chef on the left side of their pants clearly has a chef's knife, but on the right side of their pants they all have a weapon. And they all drew them and they put them in Sanji's face, and they got the KLIK because all the chefs have turned on Sanji and he's surrounded, and we have like a chef even standing in like the very close to the frame, because we kind of see the gun of the person really close in the right, and everyone's kind of got this weird shading on them that makes it look like darkness. I don't know, that like there's shadows across everybody. It's really cool.
It reminds me, it's very reminiscent of like gangster films or like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is great because this chapter's called The Dawn's Offer, right? Like, I don't know if he thematically ties his theming and his visual aesthetics through the titles of his thing, which is really cool, but I love the feeling of, I just love the emotions that are invoked in this panel. Also, Sanji looks so cool in the middle of all of it, like...
Yeah, almost unconcerned.
Yes.
He's got his hands in his pockets. That's how ready he is to deal with these chefs. Not ready at all, because he's just the kind of guy that walks around and nothing happens to, or if something does happen to him, he's ready to take it, Patty's going to tackle him on the ground. He's ready, I mean, he's not going to be out for long.
Exactly. No, he's got it. He's got it.
No, well chosen. Like I said, that was really close. That was my second panel.
You were going to choose this one? I know. This one's a good one.
Second panel choice.
So
I'm glad
good.
I chose the shrimp, though.
Dude, I'm glad you did, too. So we got to see honorable mentions. This double-page spread of Don Krieg messing up these cooks. My goodness.
I got to give you another honorable mention. I think there was the when Chef Zeph comes in, we get this. I think it's the first time we see the feet of Chef Zeph and the top of his hat in the same panel.
Yeah,
like
it's
usually
great.
The hat goes off the page, but this time we actually get to see that it is not infinitely long. It's about as tall as like a ballroom. It's like goes to the ceiling.
I love that. We gotta start. I love this panel a lot. The one you're talking about, where he's clunking the food in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like. I want to start. I'm getting inspiration with the. We got to start choosing panels that represent like each arc, like that, because I feel like this is a arc defining panel. Just like the big like the bag of food in the middle, Zeph on one side, Krieg on the other, right? Two opposing forces.
No, it's good. You can go arc defining, but it's also just whatever happens to speak to you too. I think that's what I usually do, but and that's how anyone who's listening can do it as well. But I like the idea of the more that the panel speaks to like everything that's going on in its own little tiny moment is actually really cool. So I can see that one being there.
Yeah, so cool. This is such a cool panel too, man. Sorry, one more geeky thing. I love that it comes after he's yelling at them, and Zeph just shows up to shut him up. Just like, here's the food. Stop yelling.
Yeah,
he already did it, right? This whole time, people must have been like, "What's Zeph doing?" I feel like Zeph already did.
When I got to this point, I had to flip back, and I was like, "When's the last time we saw Zeph? How long has he just been cooking? Like, because he had to cook 100 meals. Like, we have not seen him for a while." And I thought that was so cool. Like,
that after he threw Sanji to a table, right? Like, he threw Sanji to a table and left. I think it's the last time we saw him.
Oh yeah, no, it's really good. Because you just think that like there's no way we haven't seen him, and you're like, no, it's true.
No, but he's back. He's on Sanji's side, which makes him awesome.
Alrighty, I think
I have the noise. I know what.
Oh, you have the noise. All right.
This is you and I are gonna do the cacophony of noises of this ship of hundreds of men starving to death.
Oh, okay. My goodness, I'm ready.
We are the symphony of starvation. You ready?
All right. I'm ready. Symphony of Starvation. Here we go.
Water. I don't want to poop.
I'd eat a meatball.
I'd
eat a meatball that's inedible. I don't care if it's of doom
Krieg.
or if it's inedible.
Let me eat your toe.
One toe at a time. Every little last piggy.
You eat my toe, I eat your toe.
Ow!
Athlete's tongue.
Oh.
All right, leave all of that in.